Hi guys, today I'm going to be chatting about my favorite under eye powders. These are powders that I like to use, surprise, under my eyes, but a lot of these have a really good texture. I like a little bit of pigmentation. I like a little bit of a yellow undertone. I've got both drugstore, high-end, pressed, and loose, so lots of different options. If you enjoy this style of video, be sure to subscribe. And I did just film this look. I switched up the lip, but it is a full face of drugstore, so that tutorial will be linked down below, but let's go ahead and get started. I also should mention that if you have like a powder foundation that you really like that has a good texture, I'm not really mentioning any powder foundations or anything like that, but you could always pick it up in a shade that is a little bit lighter than your skin tone if you're looking for a little added coverage. Also, if you're looking for added coverage under the eyes, consider things like color correctors. Make sure you're using the right concealer, but I will have all of that linked down below. But the first powder that I want to mention is one that I've actually hit pan on, which is pretty insane. This is the Makeup Revolution Bake and Blot Powder. Now I have cracked this, I've hit pan, you can barely see the packaging on the outside. I picked this up at Ulta when I was in the US, I guess last year now. This one is in the shade Banana, and I did have someone comment once and say that they don't like baking their under eyes, and nor do I. This is just a powder. It's called the Bake and Blot. You do not need to bake with it. It does come in other shades that you could use on your face as well, but I think that this just does an incredible job. And a lot of the under eye powders that I tend to like are more loose, and it's just easier to grab for a powder. This is a great price, and yeah, I really, really love this one, as you can see. Another one of my favorites is on the high-end side. I like to present different options, but this is the Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder, and this is from Charlotte Tilbury. I really love this one. This is in the shade number 2, and this has, I would say, like it has coverage, but it doesn't have like a ton of coverage. Like, I use shade number 3 on my face, and I've got a friend, my friend Aisha, who is much deeper than me, also uses shade 3 on her face. So don't be like super turned off by the shade that's here in the packaging, but this powder is one that I always recommend to people who like don't really like powders, especially for the rest of your face. I think it just looks so smooth. It gives this kind of like satiny finish on the skin. It's not too matte, but it also doesn't, like some powders that are meant to be kind of luminous end up like highlighting the texture on your face. This does not do that. So I really, really love this, both for the under eyes and for my entire face, which I can't say about a lot of powders, but in different shades. To semi-contradict myself, a powder that I do love both for my face and my under eyes in the same shade, which is like almost never happens, is the Dermablend Professional Illuminating Banana Powder. Now, their original transparent powder is something very, very popular to them. I do like it, but it's never, almost never, I think, my choice to choose a loose, translucent, like white looking powder, because I just find it just doesn't look that good on my skin. Like, even if I use a setting powder and stuff, I just prefer something that has some color in it. But I was so excited when they came out with this because it has some more warmth in it. It is meant to be illuminating, but I don't find it to be like glittery or shiny. I mean, it's Dermablend, so they make products. They're not like medical grade, but they're a little bit more of a serious brand, I guess. So I wouldn't expect like any major, you know, glittery diamondy stuff going on there. And I really love this. And again, like I said, this both works for me under my eyes and for my whole face, which is something that I can say about almost no powders. Dermablend tends to be better for anybody with sensitive skin as well. This says that it locks in makeup, brightens the complexion instantly, and it is weightless. It's got pearl pigments in there. And I really, really think it's a fabulous powder, and I don't think I've ever heard really many people talk about it. Another great drugstore option that I really like is from Essence, and this is their Brighten Up Banana Powder. I would say not necessarily that this is my, like, I just wish that this had a little bit more yellow in it, a little bit more depth, because it's like just borderline too light for me. Something like the Makeup Revolution powder that I mentioned. I'll show you a comparison. If you can see the Makeup Revolution powder, when you put it up next to each other, this definitely has more depth in it, which I appreciate for my skin tone. So I can definitely get away with this, but it's definitely not my preferred shade. But I did want to point it out because I do like the formulation. Essence is very, very affordable. It's got great packaging. I think there is a shade that's a little more peachy of this, which I have not tried and I would like to try. I haven't seen it out, but I think that this is a really great drugstore pressed option. And I think a little bit easier to get in Canada than Makeup Revolution, although Shoppers has started to sell Makeup Revolution, so I'm not sure. I will link it down below if it's on their website. The newest under eye powder that I've really fallen in love with is from Pat Mcgrath Labs. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. I mean, it sounds amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Pat McGrath liquid foundation. I will link that review down below, but I think that this is fabulous. I think it comes in, is it 3 or 4 shades? One thing about it, if you can see here, it definitely, like, you get so much product kicked up. There's only 4 grams in here. I'm a little bit scared that I'm gonna run through it really quickly, because like this one that I use for the face, there is what? 8 grams of product in here, and you run through this so quick. 8 grams is not a lot of product for when it comes to a powder. I think it's like closer to like anywhere in between like 11 to 14, 15. Like 15 is like a very generous amount of powder. So 4 grams of product really isn't much. That being said, you know, I am using it for my under eyes, but where you're getting so much kickback, it is a little bit of a downfall. But the uptick to this is that it's an amazing powder. I especially love using it with my sponge and kind of pressing it under my eyes, not necessarily baking it, but it just does really give that blurred look. It is really soft. I don't have like major dark circles or major fine lines, but I do find sometimes certain concealers, like medium coverage concealers, can make my under eyes look really gray. Certain powders can make them look so crepey. And I'm like, I'm better off like putting nothing under there. So I'm a little bit picky when it comes to my under eye powder. So I really do enjoy this. I do think it only comes in 3 shades. I think there might be like a translucent or like a fair, then a medium and a deep. I feel like there could be more shades in here, because although it is not that pigmented, I can absolutely get away with this shade. I still think maybe 5 or 6 shades with a little bit of a variation in undertones I would have really appreciated. But I gotta say, I do really, really love this. But obviously a high-end price, but you know, she's made in Italy, it's Pat McGrath, we want to support her, so I think it's great. Another great drugstore option is from Revlon Candid. If you've watched any of my videos, you know how much I love the Revlon Candid line. I love the foundation, I love the concealer, I think they're both phenomenal. They have this high-end feel, they look incredible on the skin, and I gotta say, I really love this powder too. I would actually really love to try the powder that has some color in it for my face, but this is the one in translucent. This is the only translucent powder that I'm going to be mentioning today, and I think it's great. I don't know if it's that it's more finely milled or the undertone or whatever it is, but I think it just looks phenomenal on the skin. I can get away using this on both my face and my under eyes. I don't have any issue. It doesn't look like stark and white on the skin. Like I said, it's never really my preference to have a loose powder, just because I'm like lazy and I don't want to take any extra steps, and a pressed powder is just easier. But I feel like I don't hear enough people talking about Revlon Photo Ready Candid line. I think it's so good. I reviewed the Glow foundation too. But yeah, I think that this is a phenomenal powder. It says that it's anti-pollution. I think that's got some kind of blue light protection in there as well. But overall, I think that this is a really, really great one. This powder from e.l.f. is one that I purchased a while back, but I do really enjoy. And although it is like a loose powder, the fact that it's in a smaller packaging, I prefer. I know I'm like really kind of picking things apart here, but there's only so much I could say about a bunch of powders that I like. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy them all for different reasons. It depends on the day. It depends on the video. Do I want something loose? Do I want a little illumination? Do I want more coverage? You know, these are all factors that you're going to need to consider when you want to purchase. Do they have my shade? Are they cruelty-free? Whatever it may be. And that's why I like to present a bunch of options. But long-winded, this is the e.l.f. Under Eye Setting Powder. They used to have like an HD powder. Do you remember that? The Under Eye HD powder? I had that. I think it had like glitter in it. But this one has, this is in the Banana Deep Tone shade. I'm pretty sure it's still available, and I do really like it. It's great for travel. It reminds me in tone of the Makeup Revolution. I like that it comes in this small packaging. e.l.f. is obviously incredibly affordable as well. I shop from the e.l.f. website. I'm here in Canada. I don't get charged customs anymore. Sometimes it comes really quick, sometimes it takes a lifetime, and I almost always wait to shop for a sale. They've got lots of sales as well, but I think that this is a really great and kind of underrated powder. I feel like I've said that about most things, but this one especially. And then lastly, I want to mention the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Microfinishing Pressed Powder. This one I believe is in shade 2. They're banana shades. There's like an orangey shade if you have a deeper skin tone, and then there's a translucent shade if you prefer that style. This one I would say that has probably, maybe not the strongest yellow. I think maybe Makeup Revolution still has like the most depth, but this probably has the most bright yellowness in there. And it doesn't give a ton of pigmentation, which I kind of appreciate because it is very yellow, but it is called a micro finishing powder, and it is so smooth. Makeup Forever does an incredible job. Like, they've only made one thing that I really didn't like. But I really think that this powder is super good. It looks really nice under the eyes. I get a nice amount of brightness. It has the smoothness, so it kind of blurs things out, but it doesn't have any, you know, glitter or anything in there. Just a really, really smooth, great brightening powder. And I really do like that they have that kind of more orangey shade, which is going to be kind of, I guess, more peachy shade. That's going to be a little bit more well suited to those who have deeper skin, which I really appreciate. So there you have it. Those are some of my top picks. Like I said, sometimes I'll use a lighter powder foundation if I have one of those in my collection, and I mix it up, but I find these are the powders that I tend to reach for the most. So let me know down below if you use a different powder for your under eyes than you do your face. Perhaps you're just using the same one, and you know, I'm a little bit high maintenance, but I have a beauty YouTube channel, so what do you expect? But thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time.